Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another video for Armajet. Today we're going to be looking at the weapon changes that came in Update 1.13. I'm going to cover each of these one by one, have a look at the different weapons and what those changes have done to them. Now, before we jump in on this one, let me know if you enjoy this video by hitting a like on it, and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already for all things Armajet. Let me know what kind of content you'd like to see me make in future, either by commenting in the comment section down below, or by coming and finding me on the various social media channels as you see along the bottom of your screen now. That said and done, let's jump right into Update 1.13's weapon balance changes. Now, the first weapon that I want to talk about is the Havoc. Now, for those of you who haven't seen my video on the Havoc already, it is a rocket launcher. Ultimately, it is a brilliant little, almost sniper-like weapon that is one of my favourites, actually, in Armajet. I love the sound it makes. It's so satisfying to snipe someone with it. It does a little bit of explosive damage as well. Now, the Havoc did get a nerf in Update 1.13. It has gone from a 1.6 second reload to a 1.8 second reload. It's not a huge nerf by any stretch. Ultimately, if you're good with the weapon, it's not going to trash tier this weapon at all. It's still a very solid, really good weapon. Great if you've got a bit of accuracy. It just means you can't spam it quite as much. Ow! That hurt. You can't spam it quite as much, as every shot does count that little bit more right now. It's not a huge nerf by any stretch, but it's noticeable, and for those people who like to complain about Havoc spammers, it certainly makes a bit of a difference. Next up is the Leviathan, which is everyone's favourite auto shotgun. This has had some significant buffs in Update 1.13, both in regards to its clip size, which has been increased from 6 shots up to 10, and the time between those shots, known as the burst interval, has been decreased as well from 0.4 seconds down to 0.3. That means it fires more shots and it fires them faster. The knockback has also been removed, which is brilliant news for Leviathan mains everywhere, as it means that shooting someone doesn't now push them inherently further away from you, and actually gives you the ability to swoop in, punish them really quickly, and then swoop out. Ultimately, here you can see me getting some kills with the Leviathan. This has historically been my very worst weapon. I've never really been able to get kills with it, so by the fact that I can actually now kill some targets goes to show how significant this particular buff is. The Leviathan is an interesting buff. It has had quite a significant change. First and foremost is the fact that the weapon now has incendiary rounds, which you can see there. Not only does it explode, but it burns on impact as well for additional damage. Now, the damage has gone down from the original 80 damage down to 70, but the incendiary damage is a further 16 on top of that, meaning that the Leviathan now is capable of doing 86 damage to a large group of people, and you can see there it burns for a little bit of time. To counteract this, though, the Leviathan now does have increased weight and an increased cooldown. The cooldown has gone from 2 seconds up to 2.2, and the weight has increased fairly noticeably, actually. It's a very, very heavy sniper rifle. Compare this to, like, the long claw, and as you can see there, you're going to get rinsed if anyone happens to get up close and personal to you. So it's a bit of an overall change, one I'm really positive with. I really like it. Hitting someone with an incendiary round just feels so good, and it actually feels something a little bit different now to the long claw. I think it's fairly well known in the Armajet community that the Venom is one of my favourite weapons, and I used it almost exclusively up until it was nerfed into the ground in Update 1.7. With Update 1.13, there have been some major changes that ultimately provide a very strong overall buff to the weapon. First and foremost, instead of the goo splitting into 2 that do 10 damage each, it now splits into 3 that each do 8 damage. Now that means that the total goop from a spray can now do 24 damage, up from 20. It also means the spray's larger, so you're much more likely to hit something, and most importantly, if you're doing direct damage with the Venom now, the damage has gone up from 20 damage up to 25 with each successive hit. Now, this does mean that it's had about a 28% increase to its firing interval, so there is a slightly longer delay between shots with the Venom that ultimately, to me, does still feel a touch on the long side, but the Venom now is very much a usable weapon, and this is the first time it's been usable in a good 6 updates. I can now actually bounce Venom shots over an area and to disincentivize teammates from going that enemy team from going in that direction. As you can see here, by me trying to cover where the invisibility is and dealing some rather hectic damage there. You can also spray it around corners there, like killing that particular bot. The Venom now, to me, is a weapon that I can quite happily go back to maining, and I'm very, very excited about that. And then finally, there's the Ripper, another firm favourite of mine that has received significant changes and improvements in Update 1.13. Firstly, the clip size has been dramatically increased from 3 all the way up to 10, although the damage per shot has been dramatically reduced from 35 down to 12 to compensate, though this does still work out as a buff in the Ripper's favour, as the total damage per clip has gone from 105 up to 120. In addition to this, the interval time between shots and the reload time for the gun have both been reduced as well, meaning that you fire shots quicker and you reload faster. Simply put, this means there are more shots flying around the arena from the Ripper, and they're doing a better spread of damage. As you can see as well, the bounce and trajectory have been altered for the Ripper, which allows you much greater accuracy at shooting around corners, bouncing off the walls and ceilings, and ultimately closing off entire lanes in one go. If the Ripper looks like a lot of fun for you now as well, do be assured that you are going to get your hands on it much faster than you would have done previously, as the Ripper is now a Valor Road reward, meaning you don't have to claim blueprints for it. You will unlock this one as you climb up the Valor. Wholeheartedly, this has been my favourite change for the weapons in Update 1.13, with the Venom in a very close second. Anyway, that wraps up my thoughts and opinions on Update 1.13's weapon balance changes. Of course, these are just my thoughts. You may agree, you may disagree. You may have had ideas that you were hoping would make it in, and things that made it in that you weren't expecting. What's your favourite weapon balance change from 1.13? What were you looking forward to the most, and what weapon are you enjoying the most in 1.13? Is there a particular weapon you think has just shot up the ranks and is now going to be one of the greatest weapons in the arena? And has anything changed on those lists otherwise for you? Are you going to be changing your loadouts accordingly because of this? Let me know all of this and more in the comment section down below, or come find me on the different social media channels that are in the description and were along the bottom of the screen earlier. Otherwise, folks, thank you ever so much for watching and listening to my thoughts and opinions. I can't wait to hear yours. Otherwise, happy sailing, and see you in the arena.